Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse Frugally. Today I am joining Corey from Desert DIY in her Ugly Duckling Challenge. Make sure when you finish this video that you go ahead over to the playlist in my description box and check out all the other wonderful crafters and their ugly ducklings turned to beautiful swans. If you are new to Farmhouse Frugally, we do a number of things: furniture flips, crafts, mostly farmhouse, but cottage core occasionally. And then we have a phenomenal opportunity at our dump to take or leave whatever you'd like. So we do a lot of dump hauls and a lot of trash to treasure from those beautiful items. So if you like that, please hit subscribe. And today I was taking an ugly duckling piece. Now I had just finished the ugliest piece I have ever seen, so I'm going to link that in my description box so you can see that one. But then I found out about this challenge, and this was my second ugly piece. Not, it's just tribal paint that's just very unusual. So not my style at all. And then the top of it was really trashed. It had a number of rings and just gouges, and it was just in really, really bad shape. So we did go ahead and take our time to go through and sand that, try to get as much of that off as absolutely possible. And I'd say we got 85 to 90% of that. And the wood is lovely. It's absolutely solid hardwood, which is, what made me want to do this piece. I couldn't altogether get the rings 100% out, but considering what I started with, I thought that it came out fairly decent. I have seen some people bleach that, and perhaps I should have given that a whirl. I did have to get a good cleaning, although the interior was actually in pretty decent shape. Now, the paint on there is just very, very unusual, but it did have the original hardware, which is a children's chifforobe or wardrobe. Some people would say armoire, and that's what people used to keep their children's clothes in the 50s and 60s. Here is one that I found online, very similar, to give you an idea, and so definitely in the vintage time frame. So then what my hope is to give the top a coat or two of Verethane's gel stain. And I like the hickory color, which was actually, when I was finished, rather similar to the color that was originally on there. And so that was a good look and easy to match. However, I did intend, of course, to paint the base of this piece. This summer, somebody had dropped off 5 buckets of custom paint, so I took them home and I put them on a swatch, and I was hoping to use this Dixie Belle transfer called Field of Flowers and see what color I thought might look good with it. Now, I had seen 1 or 2 people use this transfer, but each time they had put it on a white piece of furniture and it looked like this, which is quite lovely. It's just not the feel that I was going for. More than a field of flowers, I wanted it to look a little bit stormy and to have more of a horizon to it. So I chose number 3. More of a tan, mustardy tan maybe. And after the first coat, noticed that I did need to do a little bit of gluing on one side where there was a bit of a split in the wood. That just required some wood glue and some clamps. And then once that was completely finished, a little bit of sanding and then another coat. I ended up doing a total of 3 coats just to make it nice and even and smooth and beautiful. And then once that was completely dry, I waited at least 48 hours before putting the transfer on. I know sometimes they'll recommend curing for a week. It is best to wait longer, especially on a latex paint. I think it can lift the paint up a little bit if you don't let it cure. I don't find that with a chalk paint. With chalk paint, I find that you can pretty much put the transfer on the next day. That has been my experience. So this is the transfer laid out, And the next thing that I did was take the 2 doors that I was going to be using to transfer right off the piece and put them on the floor so that I'd be able to work this surface looking down on it rather than trying to do it evenly while it was still hanging on the piece. The next step was to cut all of the white edges away from the transfer so that I would be able to match them up exactly, and then to peel very slowly the back of the transfer off from the transfer itself, just in one small section at a time. Using the flat stick that came with the transfer, I just very slowly went over the piece little by little by little, and it did crack in some of those spaces, or I had to cut it in order to get it to go down in the crevices. Then once that was completely finished, you can see the white dark edges on the piece. So I took my brush and the color of the cabinet, and I just pounced very lightly around those corners just to smooth that out a little bit, make that a little bit softer, and let it look a little bit more like the transfer itself. Then I had to mix up some colors to match some of the flowers and the blue sky places where that cracked, so that I could just fill it in here and there to make that more complete. And then another day or two later, I took out the Valspar sealing wax. This is a clear wax, and I went over the entire piece just with a big wax brush and just put that on, let that sit for a little while, maybe 20-30 minutes, and then took a rag and then just wiped that off until the whole piece was completely soft and smooth. So here is the before, just to remind you of this little ugly duckling. And then here is the finished product. And I absolutely love the way I overlapped the top and bottom 4 pieces just to give it a little bit of horizon, so it didn't look quite the same as all the others that I had seen. It looks a little bit more like an ocean scene, as well as the flowers in the front. Now this piece sold immediately. I don't think I had it for 3 days and it was already sold, so it is gone. But hopefully you have enjoyed this, and if you do, I would love it if you would give me a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I am trying to hit 1,000 by Valentine's Day, so I would appreciate that. And if you would give me a comment, let me know what you think. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by.